I'm gonna turn it a little bit just so I can like say hi or something.
Yeah, okay, we are live. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for hopping on and watching if you get a chance. And if you don't get a chance to watch right now, you can always hop on later. This is my friend Julian Alcantar. He's an amazing artist, and he's going to show us how to paint this fun Highland cow today. Julian, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and share some interesting facts?
Yes, yes. Interesting facts about the cow. This is the second time I paint a Highland cow. So, I mean, third actually. But this design is going to be the first time ever. And so, yes, like she said, I'm Julian, and I am an artist here in South Bend, Indiana. We have a studio where we host our paint parties, and I was reached by Holly to do this interview, and I was really excited. So, here we are.
Great. Yeah, I've been following Julian for a little bit. Yeah, he's on the other side of the country, but I just love his work and admire him. He has a good studio space, and I'm like, maybe one day I will have a space like that too. So I really appreciate you being here. You can go ahead and get started with your first step, and I'll just kind of watch and have fun.
Yeah, so yes, I want to get started. I thought I would do the background first, and as you guys can see, the what do you call it? The drawing of the cow is already done here, so that I don't have to take a lot of time on that. And I'm just gonna find the focus on the camera right here. Okay. And so yeah, so I have the sketch is already done, and this is a cute Highland cow that I thought I would try out and just show you guys how to paint it. Like I said, this is only my third time, so it might be a surprise, for me and for you as well. So let's see. For the background, you guys, I thought I would start with this really cool new color that I just made. And when it comes to color theory, I'm kind of like I just kind of go with the flow and see how it works. And if there's something I don't like, I switch it, right? So say for example, like the background is not making my image pop, then I'll go ahead and find a different color. But I thought I would start with this one. I made it the other day by mixing titanium white, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, and fire red. And these are all colors you can find by what's stuff Deco Art. Deco Art, yeah. I got all these colors on Deco Art. So it kind of made like this real cute cream slash fleshy color. So, but yeah, this is going to be a fall theme. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour some of that here on my plate. And what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go around the subject, right? I'm just going to go around everything. And what I like to do first, I'm using 4 different paintbrushes. You don't have to use as many, but I kind of just, just to make my life easier, you could only might as well just use, two, like a large flat and just like a medium size round. But I like to use this even a smaller round for some detail and a smaller flats, just because the smaller flats are really sturdy and they allow me to do like real precise detail. But you don't have to, right? So what I want to do first is I'm going to go ahead and use that. First, I like to get my brushes wet in the water. Because I have a cup of water here. You guys can't see it, but it's right here. So I'm going to get my brushes wet just to make sure the paint flows nice and well. And first, I like to create an outline around the cow and around these sunflowers down here. So I'm just going to dip my medium brush into this background color I told you guys about. And just real carefully, I'm going to go around my cow. I'm just going to take
I,
my time. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I love how you came up with that color, and I love that container you're using. What is that container? Where do you get it?
Those are called FIFOs, and I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them.
Oh yeah.
Um, you can find them online on Walmart or on Amazon. They're called FIFO, FIFO, and just FIFO bottles. They're really nice, really neat because they look really nice, right? But when it comes to pouring, you've got like, I've been using these for about 3 years now. and I kind of have like a sense of how much I need to press, because otherwise, like I don't let my customers use these because they just pour out like a bunch of paint. So they're nice to keep your paint and they look good and everything, but when it comes to pouring, like sometimes I have to be really careful because you pour more than you need. Is basically what I'm saying. It just comes out really heavy. So, but yeah, the color, I really like this color, how it turned out. So I hope that it matches the theme that I'm going for with the cow. So it's like a fall theme. So I thought I'd keep it like, kind of like just kind of rustic looking.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, and I just painted Highland cow too because I have an event coming up with it too, and so it's really fun to paint this. If anyone wants to give it a try at home, it's a great
Yeah,
one.
yeah, I love the Highland cow. I've been wanting to paint one, but it wasn't until I got the one of the tracers from another group that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. And then I was surprised how it's actually very relaxing just to like kind of get there with the hair, with the fur. It's like doing this shaggy look and stuff. It's really fun. But definitely, if you haven't painted one, I recommend you give it a try. So
So,
the reason I'm doing an outline, you guys, is because I like to define my cow, and I I like to do this with the painters, with my students, because it gives a little bit of room for mistake, right? So that if you use a big brush, which is what I'm about to switch to in a minute, if you use a big brush and you're a beginner, or you don't have a lot of practice, then you run the risk of going into your cow with this background color, right? Because it's just a thicker brush and stuff like that. So this little outline that I'm creating around her just it gives a little bit of room for that mistake to not happen, so it doesn't happen. So that's all. That's what I'm doing, this outline, just taking my time. It does take a little longer, but it's worth it because, like I said, you don't run into that little issue of going inside of the cow.
yeah, and actually, while you're painting it online, it's making it pop quite a bit.
Yeah, it is kind of. So what I did here, well, I'll talk about it here in a minute. But as you see, I looked at the screen, and yeah, it does make it pop because I started to see more of the pencil. I kind of laid down my shadows in here. That's where you see the pencil. I kind of marked it. I kind of like to do that so so I don't forget where my darker shades are gonna be, right? So
Uh
that's why you
huh.
do it like that. Okay, so there's the outline. I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe off this brush. And then I like to wipe off my brush on the napkin before I dip it in the water. This way I don't have to get up so often and get fresh new water, right? So I'm gonna switch to this big brush. Again, I'm just gonna dip it in the water, make it nice and soft and wet. And then just dip it into the same background color I've been using. And you know what? I think I'm going to, I think I'm gonna add a little bit of white to that background just to kind of give it some depth. Just as I'm using this color, I just do abstract little strokes. I'm not really like too worried about, what kind of strokes I'm doing. And then I'm just gonna dip it into the white just to give it some interesting look, and it's not just a flat surface. It's just gonna give it some depth and some volume to it. So every so often I dip it into my white, and then kind of lightly getting into the outline that I created. I kind of just very lightly, whatchamacallit, I touch it just so that they blend. And so that I don't end up with like just this weird line around. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a gradient rather than just like a separate solid line that goes around the cow.
Yeah, so you're softening that outline a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's looking beautiful. So how long have you been painting for?
I have been painting for I started painting in 2000 and like 10, I think, 2009, 2010, and so it's been a few years, over a decade.
And
Yeah,
I think I remember seeing you mostly did kind of like abstract stuff a little bit. That was like
yeah,
bright and
yeah,
yeah, or like almost I can't remember if it was kind of like a surrealist kind of style.
yeah. It was very abstract. I'm self-taught, so I kind of just picked up the brush. I've always been creative as far as like just kind of making things, but when it came to painting, um, one day I've had this, one of those acrylic paint sets that you get at like the craft store. They come with the easel and like basically everything you need to start painting.
Uh-huh.
Somebody gifted me one of those because I always kept a drawing notebook. I kind of just did my uh, little smaller scale abstract doodles and just like just drawings. And so this person was like, you know what, I think you should paint. I was like, hey, thanks. So they gave it to me, but I never actually opened it because life, you're always. I was 24 and maybe 23, so like busy doing other things, going out and stuff like that. So I never actually cracked it open until a few years after they gifted to me, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna open it and see what happens. So I started painting on like actual canvases, and ever since I never stopped.
That's a really cool story. Yeah, I buy those little kits sometimes for my kids too,
Those
and
are fun.
yeah, I remember people doing that for me sometimes too. And then like you said, you get busy and you like push it away. And
Yeah.
I remember when I was in college, I was just so busy. I didn't do art at all for like 13 years, but it still lives in your mind and in your heart, even though you're not practicing, I think. So
Definitely.
yeah, that's really neat. I'm loving how you're blending that. It looks really nice.
Thanks. It's just
It's oh, I was gonna say it's like soothing for me to like watch someone else painting instead of just myself. It's like
yeah,
oh.
definitely. Yeah, just these are just short little choppy strokes, no particular direction, just kind of like what I do like to kind of try to do is don't create a pattern. So every so often I switch my brush to different directions so that I don't have a pattern when I'm doing this because I wanted to keep it as abstract as possible. But when you make it abstract, then like it's yours. Like there's no wrong way to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh, that phone! I get a lot of calls from what do you call it? People just trying to sell stuff.
Oh, solicitors.
Yeah, you're gonna hear my phone ring. Like it literally happens like a bunch of times a day. Like I probably get like 50 calls. I'm not even kidding. 50 calls, and a lot of them like because I have to answer my phone, uh, and then I pick up and like there's nothing. There's no one in the back. Like it's just like their computers don't work or something. It's really crazy.
I've been getting more calls like that too lately where yeah, and my phone will tell me like it's a scam, and sometimes it's a customer, and so I never know, like, am I supposed to just let it go, or
Yeah.
yeah.
I inquired into switching my phone number yesterday. But then I was thinking, how everything has like that two-way or second factor notification, whatever you call that, where like they send you a text to your phone in order for you to log in into the websites and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I was like, what if I lose everything because they changed my number? So I'm like still trying to think like, do I want to do that or not?
Yeah, it's hard now because they have all those little loopholes you kind of have to jump through so you get attached to stuff.
There you go. I think that background is looking good.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the background, what I like to do is lay down my darker shades so that I know where I want to overlap everything on. For example, like the fur and the hair. So I like to work from the darkest to lightest. And then, so for that, I have this burnt sienna here. It's kind of just like a reddish brown. And I'm no, actually no, not that one. I'm gonna use this burnt umber, which is basically just like a dark chocolate color, mixed with a little bit of black. And now the black goes a long way, you guys. So you just want to use a little bit of the black, not too much. I'm gonna pour this brown right on my plate, and then just grab a little bit of black. I like to put it on the side. That way I can bring it, because like I said, these FIFOs pour a bunch. So I just kind of put it off to the side, and then I'm gonna like kind of work with it. I'm going to use my medium brush for this step, and I'm just gonna bring some of this black into the brown, just so I can darken this brown. And this is gonna act as my my shadows, like the shadows that the hair makes, basically. So blend that nice all the way down to one color. You hear that? Oh my gosh. It's literally draining. Like it drains my energy every day.
It's like a holiday song every time it comes on.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my mix. Again, I did the burnt umber and black. And this is gonna be for 1 second. This is gonna be for my shadows. So what I like to do, you guys, actually is every time I finish mixing my paint, I like to wipe off my brush, because every time you're done mixing your paint, your brush gets paint all over the place, right? So I like to start nice and fresh with the pointy end, and then now dip my brush only on the tip, and then so I'll start like right here. This is right here. What I'm doing is kind of just signifying the ear, like the inside of the ear where it would be darker. Just kind of adding that on there. And what I'm doing is I'm basically just kind of dabbing. I'm not really like brushing. I'm just kind of dabbing it on. I'm gonna add a little more here, more dark.
I like that. Yeah, I loved that you were gonna paint this, because I was thinking this will be a really great way to show how to paint hair in a different way. That's one of the things I've been trying to teach, and we're gonna be doing a Zoom like private paint your pet with the members here next month, and so we're trying to learn more about different ways to paint fur, and if it's like curly or straight or wavy.
Yeah. I'm gonna put my phone on silent. 1 second.
Okay.
This is really crazy. Let's see. We have some people on the live stream. I'm doing a live stream too. And then, hey there, Julie. Hi, Linda. How are you doing? Amber. Hello, Amber. Moo the paint. Okay, so my phone is on silent. That shouldn't be an issue anymore. Sorry, guys. Should have done that earlier. So again, I'm just going around creating some shadows. These are going to be the shadows that the hair makes, you know? So I'm basically just going under the shaggy areas right on here. And as you guys can see, I prepared this ahead of time. So I just kind of did with the pencil, I kind of just created those shadows for myself, just so I know. And when you do a paint your pet class, I love doing the paint your pets. I love doing them because they're really challenging. They're not easy. But when you do that, this is something you can do for your students. Kind of give them some shadows so they know where to concentrate the darker areas at.
That's a great tip. I didn't think about that. I was thinking maybe I should reach out, because I know you paint at PetSmart. Is that right? Or Petco?
Yeah, we've done PetSmart. Yeah, twice already.
That's awesome. I used to work at Banfield, which is a veterinary hospital that's like a nationwide veterinary hospital that was inside of a PetSmart. And so we were kind of mutual friends there. And I thought maybe I should go back there and see if we can do a paint your pet there. They would probably like that.
Yeah, they love it. Depends on the person that's working. Like, for example, we just got, let me share with you guys something that happened to us. So I started reaching out to shelters, just sending some of the pictures, the previous photos from our events, and like, hey, you guys, like, would you like to partner, blah 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 blah, because we partner, so it's not non-for-profit, right? So like, part of the proceeds goes to their costs and so on. And so we had, like, one of the persons at this place was so excited, and she's like, absolutely, I have free time next week, contact me. So we got it done, we got the date, and everything's already, like, it's live, the event is live. And then there was another person who she just didn't like our price. I don't know what she was expecting, but she, like, even cut me off on the phone. I was like, okay, goodbye. So it's a matter of trying, different people, because it depends on who's in charge and what they think of what you're offering and stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes I think people think, we as paint party artists should be just doing stuff for free or volunteering. Yeah. But it's like, well, when you have an overhead cost like you do, and especially with the paint your pet, I tell my members that you do need to charge extra because it is a lot of extra work. And
it is, yeah. We charge 50.
Do you? Yeah, I upped mine to 60 because one of my competitors was charging 75, and I thought, well, and then wow. I did 50, and it was selling out like every time. So I was like, I think I can do 60, and we'll see how it goes. And I have we're going to be doing a public one on September 3rd, which I'm going to be filming for my members so they can see everything from start to finish. And I think, so I don't know about you. What do you think the most challenging thing about teaching a paint your pet party is?
To me, the most challenging is, well, there's many aspects to it, but the most challenging is, honestly, when the student gets frozen by fear, that's the most challenging. Because if the person's open and they're open to kind of just, kind of go with the flow and make it fun and stuff, they actually themselves figure it out on their own. You kind of just show them the little, this is how you do the shades and just basically the basics. You show them, then they can figure it out on their own. But a lot of the times we have painters that they just freeze because they're scared, because it could be challenging. So I don't blame them. I've never done this before, but it is really difficult to help someone that doesn't want to be helped. But that's like the most. As far as technicality, to me, the brindle is so hard to paint. Like, no matter, like, for example, like those pet bowls that are brindle, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, because sometimes I don't think it's hard to, like, it's not that hard for me to do it, but it's hard for me to explain how to. So that's it for me.
Yeah. I was just thinking, we had a party a while back that a girl was doing a Frenchie, and it was brindle, and I remember coming up with the right color orange for the brindle. We had to figure that out. And yeah, like you said, I love them because they're very challenging, and I need a challenge sometimes. But I think the hardest part is towards the end, when people have had a few drinks and they're very relaxed and the eyes, come in. They start to get scared to do eyes, and then I'm usually going around helping with all the eyes. But they get so happy once they see the animal coming to life, especially once they have the highlight on the eyes. It's just kind of a special moment, and then they start to connect better with the painting.
Yeah, it is a nice feeling when they get it done, because they love their, we all love our pets, so everybody wants to do a good job.
Yes, yeah, and I think I have had sometimes my painters kind of freeze a little bit too. I think sometimes it's an emotional thing, especially if it's a pet that has passed. I have had people painting where they'll just do the background, and then they're like scared to start on the animal. And I started wondering about that a lot more and realized that it's probably because it's just kind of an emotional thing too. So something to be sensitive with our painters about and encourage them on, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you doing now?
Basically, I'm still doing the same thing, but now on my flowers. I like to tackle all the darker parts at the same time, so that I, like later on, I'll just go in and this already is done. So I'm just adding a little bit of shadows here on my flowers. These are the sunflowers, and I'm going as fast as I can, just so this doesn't take forever, you guys. Okay, so that'll be good right there. And then I'm going to go on to the face. I'm going to go ahead and paint the face, like right here, so that I can start overlapping my, what do you call it? My, the hair. Yep.
Oh, yeah. The bang. My daughter was looking at it. She was like, Mom, that cow looks emo. I'm like, it does look emo.
Yeah, right. Okay, so for the face, I'm going to use as a base, I'm going to use this burnt sienna, kind of like, you'll see what it looks like here in a minute. Burnt sienna, and I'm kind of just going to use some of the, some of this chrome orange. I'm kind of just winging it right here, you guys, okay? Just so you know. And I'm going to use the orange towards the end, but I'm going to use both with this small flat brush. I'm going to use this burnt sienna that I just poured and this the burnt umber. So basically that mixture that I did the shades with, but without the black. So I'm going to use both of those at the same time, just to create a variation on the face, just so it's not just one same color. And again, I'm just kind of dabbing my paint on. I don't want to create flat strokes like this, especially on animals, unless you have like a pit bull or, like a dog or something like that that has real short hair. Then it's okay if you do that. But if it's an animal that has fur and it's fluffy, you want texture on there. You don't want it to be flat. So that's kind of what I'm saying. And I'm going lightly over the areas where I added the dark, because I don't want it to stay real dark by itself, And then by adding this lighter color, it just makes it a little bit darker, but not as dark as it already is. So I'm just going over those darker areas. And as you can see, yes, as you can see, I'm just kind of dabbing it on, like just blobbing on the paint, little blobs.
So is this your favorite medium, or have you, after that friend bought you the kit to try and you just stuck with it, or have you dabbled in other mediums?
I have a little bit on oil, but basically I just love how acrylic dries really quick. So I can keep working on it. But I'm actually really excited. I'm gonna throw a plug in here. I don't know if you've heard of Darla Dunley. Darla Dunley. She's an artist. She paints really amazing. I think I met her in another one of those groups. I don't even know, but she's an oil painter, and she does these workshops. They're pretty expensive, but it's a very immersive oil painting workshop. She's out of Florida. She lives in Florida, and she's doing one at our studio. So she travels to do these to do these classes, these workshops, and she's coming here to South Bend, to Mishawaka actually. And Greg and I get to take the class complimentary, because it's kind of like the price for her to use the studio,
Uh-huh.
And Greg and I will be learning how to paint realistic oils. So I'm really good about it. Yeah.
That's special. Yeah. I started learning with oils too, more in high school, and I don't, like you said, I like acrylics because they dry super fast, but there's something about oils that you like too. But with my little kids, it's like, yeah, I'll have like a masterpiece and they'd come and smear their fingers through it. So I've decided I gotta wait till I'm an old lady to do that.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that, but I do love acrylics. They're so easy to work with. I do not like watercolors for some reason. They're too watery. Watercolors, I just don't have a lot of control over them, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I need more practice with them. I can do them, but yeah, I need to learn a little bit more. We had a watercolor paint party studio here in the Tri-Cities, and it was one of the only ones in the nation. I think there's just a handful that do watercolor instead of acrylic, and my husband and I went to one of her parties. It was a lot of fun, and she had like a pre-cut out design with special watercolor paper and a type of like sticky laminate that she put on top that had a etched out design and all of that. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to try. I thought, well, maybe, you know, one day I could do this, but I feel like I've got to take baby steps, so one thing at a time.
Right.
So are you adding a little bit of orange now, or is that just a little more of the...
Yeah, I'm adding a little bit of orange, and before it dries, because I don't want the orange to stand out by itself. I kind of just want to lightly to blend with the previous mixture, but I also want to show some of the orange highlights. So I mean, I shouldn't say highlights, but the lightest parts of my orange. So I kind of like, I don't over blend. I just kind of medium blend it.
I can see it making him look fluffy, shaggy.
Yeah. So I did that. I stopped doing this part of the face so I could do this, because I also didn't want to apply my orange straight on, because then it would have blended too much. So I let that area dry a little bit while I worked over here. And then once I thought it was a good time to go back on here, then I applied the orange.
So do you do pet portrait commissions for people as well?
I do. I don't enjoy commissions as much, but I do definitely do when somebody requests one. But yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say I don't enjoy it, but I do like them. But yeah, I do. I haven't done one in a while, actually.
Yeah, I just opened up for commissions just during the summer because I had a little extra time. But yeah, commissions can be tricky. They can be a lot of fun and really good and to make a little extra money, but sometimes it just depends on your client, and if they're super picky about stuff, or if they like your style the way it is, you got to kind of do what makes them happy. And
yeah, I guess I'm not like confident enough. Like I get like shy, like what if they don't like it type of thing, you know what I mean? They call it at the what's it called, the I forget, there's a term for it. Not the intruder, but when you second guess yourself, what do you call that?
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Imposter feeling.
Imposter syndrome. There you go. Yeah. I've noticed that in our artistic sphere that's kind of a common thing that
it really is. Yeah.
People talk about is the imposter syndrome, and yeah, I feel like it comes and goes.
Yeah, definitely.
I can see the face. It's coming out.
Yeah.
So here's a kind of a fun question for you. Do you ever have times of the year when you're feeling a little down or depressed and you don't want to create? Do you have certain tips or tricks that you could give people to help them to stay motivated?
Well, actually, since you asked that, the reason why I started painting is because I was in a depressed state, and I never really, in the Latino culture, there's no such a thing as depression. You know what I mean? We don't like really it's not like a thing we don't talk about it, or like if you tell your parents that you're depressed, they're like, shut up or something type of thing, you know. So I never really looked at it as I was depressed, but that's not that I you know, because um what do you call it, that type of stuff is more common nowadays ever since COVID and stuff. People are kind of depressed and stuff, so it's all over the place. It's like if, if you don't hear about it, then you're not, you're living under a rock. So after I hear about it so much, then I was like, well, I guess I was depressed. But that's why I started painting, because I was in this state of mind where like just wasn't happy with. I wasn't happy with like being here in the United States because my family moved here when I was 14. So I was like still getting kind of adjusted to the change. I was like, 24, and I was like, I don't even know what's going on with my life. I don't know what I want. So I started painting because I just had extra time, and I found out that art, it's so healing. It basically changed my entire reality. And but ever since, I don't think I haven't been depressed, but it's just like when I feel unmotivated, uh, I kind of just I know this is kind of funny, but like if I like for example, if I'm watching too much TV, instead of like telling myself like, oh, I need to stop watching TV, I intentionally, so I realize, right, like, yes, I need to stop watching TV, but I don't approach it in that direction. I kind of just start putting things on TV that are inspiring. And first, I start with like funny things. I start like I intentionally put on like funny videos and stuff like that I know are gonna raise my spirit, my vibration, whatever you want to call it. So I know they're gonna help me, and I just put on funny videos, and and then that just automatically kind of takes you, because you can't go from. I was watching this video on TikTok the other day, and it's kind of off, but it's related at the same time. This lady was talking about how you cannot go from, say you do speeches and you're about to do a speech or talk in front of a group or something, and you're nervous. She was saying you can't go from nervous to like happy or not nervous or relaxed. You know what I mean? Because the vibration is too opposite. So she was talking about how you need to kind of go in steps, and she recommends kind of going, instead of trying to go like from fearful to relaxed, just go from fear to excitement, because they're kind of both the same. They're on the same scale, like the same frequency. So instead of being fearful, just think that you're excited, that you're like, oh, I want to get this done. And then you can kind of like be more in control, because when we're in fear, we're not in control, And so that's kind of like what I was saying. Like what I was saying, if I'm too unmotivated, I just start watching things that are a little more motivating, and I like to talk to my family too. Like if I'm not like, my family helps a lot. Like, if I'm not getting things done, I'll just kind of pick up the phone and visit mom, because I'm very close to my mom. So I was kind of like, just little things here and there, but I don't really get depressed anymore. At least I like to think so.
Well, that's good. That was very inspiring. I think that you shared that little tidbit. You might know this already, but my husband is also Latino, and so our girls are Latinas, and so
I was gonna ask you about your last name.
yes, Cepeda, and so I've had to grow to adjust in our marriage to the culture. Oh my gosh, I've always loved Mexican food, but I love it even more now. And yeah, you're right. My mother-in-law, when she we would talk about, because I had postpartum depression after having our second daughter, and she would say sometimes that she was feeling kind of sad, and so I would say, well, what about counseling? And she said what you said, like, there's no such thing. We just don't do it we just don't do that. And that was before, I think it was before COVID, but yeah, so but then my sister-in-law, her daughter, started going to counseling, and it helped her a lot. And so now it's helped her to kind of open up to that. And I think, like you said, after COVID, it's talked about so much, it's becoming a normal thing. And
Right.
and just to talk about it, at least, not that, you know, we're all depressed, but I think we do all go through different times in our lives where, you know, being sad is normal. Being a little
Right.
over the top sad is maybe abnormal, but, you know, it's okay to reach out and ask for help. So.
Definitely.
Oh, I see
Now,
the hair coming out.
yeah, now here at the top, I don't want to add too much dark. I just want to add a little bit of some accents so that it can divide the fur into different segments, you know?
He's starting to get his shag on. I can see it.
Yeah. Now to get the ends pointy, I kind of just pull away, like I pull away from the canvas, like I'm scraping something away, and then that gives you the pointy ends.
That's a good way to describe it. I try to think of like you're putting pressure down and then you kind of like pluck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes that little point with that round brush. It's kind of nice.
Okay, let's see. What I want to do next is I think I want to go ahead and start adding the lightest colors. And I have here my yellow ochre. It's kind of like a mustard yellow. And I'm gonna use this with the deep yellow. Wait, what do I want to do? Actually, I'm gonna save this one. I'm gonna start using this yellow ochre, and I'm gonna mix it very lightly with the burnt sienna, just so I can create a nice different layers in between. So I'm gonna add. I'm using my medium brush and lightly dip it into that burnt sienna. And then when you're creating hair like this, you almost wanna, for each, maybe like 2 strokes, you load up again, because you want to make sure that you have a good amount of paint on your brush so that you can create a good amount of texture, right? And then what I'm doing here is I'm kind of just going in between those darker strokes I added earlier, making sure that I don't cover them too much. I do want to go over them a little bit, but not a lot, because that's what's going to help me keep my segments and my hair strands separated. Otherwise, sorry guys. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's.
They're like, you can't hear us on the phone. We're gonna attack you through the computer.
1 second. Greg's on the phone. Sorry, guys. Anyways, so yeah, so what I was saying is you don't want to get rid of all the darker strands, because that's what's going to separate your hair. Otherwise, you'll end up with just a blob of paint, a blob of a head. You know what I mean? So you don't want a blob. You just want to leave those darker strands so that they'll help you create that difference in shade.
I love that yellow ochre color. It's just, and then, you know, the way that you mix the burnt sienna and the burnt umbers, it's just very natural, earthy colors. The background has a bit of that too. Lots of really the fall vibes.
Yeah, very folly. So I don't know how much time you have, but I think this is going to take a little longer.
It's okay. I have as much time as you need. I figured, you know, if we end up being 2 hours, that's fine. If it ends up longer than that, I'd be surprised, but I think you're doing great.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take more than 2 hours, but yeah. So yeah, I'm just real heavy on here. That's the key for a nice, luscious, fluffy hair. You want to be able to grab a lot of paint each time as you guys can see, like I'm loading my brush every every 3 to 4 strokes. I load up again because I want to make sure that my texture on my hair becomes really thick. So yes, here I'm mixing both of my colors, the yellow ochre with the burnt sienna. And then if I find that I'm going too dark with the raw sienna, I just only dip it into my yellow ochre so I can bring up those highlights. And it's not too dark. Later on, after this shade, after this layer, I'm gonna add the deep yellow, and so I can complement with some of the highlights real quick. And then the deep yellow is gonna bring up more of these hair strands that I'm creating.
So one of the things that I tell my members when we're painting animals is you kind of start with the base tone of the animal, and then you, like you said, you start with the darker tones, and then like a medium tone, and then work up to the highlights. And it looks like you kind of, you use the same kind of ideas. I usually say, start with your base tone, and then you can lighten it with a little bit of white or cream to make it more natural, or you can darken it by adding the black like you did with the burnt sienna. Mm-hmm. And so it makes it look more realistic, and it's really nice.
Yeah, that's basically what I started with the darkest ones, and then because you need to be able to overlap. Like I said, if it's a furry guy, you do need to establish your darker shades first so you can overlap your fur on those darker shades, like I'm doing right here, so that I'm adding these hair strands that are overlapping onto the face, which is where those shadows are created by the hair itself, by that shagginess. Because if you don't do those first, then it doesn't look very well. Unless it's a pit bull where you don't have to worry about that, then you can just fill in. Pit bulls are so easy to paint because they're just kind of like cartoonish. You kind of just fill it in without having to worry about too much about looking realistic.
Yeah, I took my girls to the park the other day, and there's a little rose garden right by the park, and so we went over to look at the roses, and there was the sweetest pit bull that was she was probably a pit bull mix of some kind. She did have kind of brindle fur. She was just so sweet. She was even like smiling when we went up to her, because I was like, I don't know if she's scared or just really sweet. It took a little bit to read her demeanor, but she was so sweet. She let us pet her, and we wouldn't normally just do that with any dog, but I think there's just such a stigma with pit bulls, but they're so sweet.
Yeah, definitely. Our Abby, she is a pit bull terrier.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And she is really sweet. She loves children.
Have you guys, maybe you've heard of this, the Pit Bull Pen? Sometimes they do shows on Animal Planet with them. They're actually here in the Tri-Cities where I live, and they rescue pit bulls, and so it's kind of cool.
Where are you at again?
It's called the Pit Bull Pen. It's in like Benton City, I guess, which is just basically part of the Tri-Cities. It's just right outside the Tri-Cities.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I'm running out of my yellow ochre. I'm just going to pour myself some more.
So you mentioned the I don't know if I got her name right. Barbara Dominic, is that right? For oil painting?
Darla.
Darla, not Barbara.
Darla Donnelly.
And I was going to ask you who are some of your biggest artistic influences. Is she one of them?
Yeah, well, I don't. She's awesome. That's someone you want to interview too. But because of how we teach these paint parties, I really don't focus on doing realistic because our parties are not very realistic. 'Cause her workshop is 4 days. And so it's like we don't do paint parties that long, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but I just want to take her class because I can always use a little more knowledge when it comes to painting. And it's always nice to offer that here to our community. But yeah, I'll tell her about you you guys can make the connection.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, because I've got a, and if anyone watching on Julian's page, I want to call you Julian because I'm not sure what way you prefer. Um, if anyone is watching and is an artist interested in being a guest artist in my page, Paint Party Animal is the name of my membership. Just message me and let me know. I am a new membership, so just trying to reach out to as many artists as possible. We do a guest artist once a month, and so yeah, I'd love to have more. I've got somebody already signed up for next month, but I still need somebody for October, November, December. So if you're interested, let me know. Or if you know someone that I could reach out to. We just focus on painting animals and specialize in the paint your pet parties, a lot like what Julian does too. And so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, if my name's in Spanish, Julian, that's how it's pronounced. And I say Julian because I really don't like the way Julian sounds. You know what I mean?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
My husband actually loves that name. If we were going to have a boy, he was like set that was going to be our boy's name.
Really?
And, yeah, and I was okay with that, but we never had a boy. It was all girls, so we're like, oh, wow. I guess we could have done Juliana or something like that. But
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So let's see, how's it looking? I think it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's looking awesome.
Thank you. I think I'm gonna grab a larger brush because this is taking me forever. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. I basically just grabbed the same brown brush, but just a larger. It's just a bigger brush.
So when I was painting this, or if I was doing something similar, I would have probably, like you said, just to cut back on time, I would have probably used a large flat brush, but used it at a perpendicular angle to do like the short strokes. But I really like how this is looking with the smaller brush too. So
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I think sometimes it's because it's so. If you use it that way, you don't grab that much paint, as because this is thicker. So I only do that when I want to, for example, like if I want to go like right here, I'll do that, like sharper strokes. But if I wanted to like fill in some areas, I feel like it just takes me a lot longer that way.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, anybody watching, it's kind of a good like tip to know there's more than one way to do something.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be right or wrong, especially in art. You might be painting with your fingers and it looks just the same as with a paintbrush. It doesn't matter.
It's about how you feel.
Yeah. So do you have any other artists that have been a big influence in your life?
So if we're talking about like famous artists, I really like Salvador Dali is one of my all-time favorites. Even though I don't paint like him, right? But it's just like his character, his persona, and I've watched like almost every documentary there is about him. I also like what do you call it? Andy Warhol. I really like Andy Warhol. I think he's a freaking genius. Greg doesn't like Andy Warhol, but I don't like so much his art. I mean, his art is cool and everything, but I just like the way he makes his art. You know what I mean? Like the process, like his thought. That's what I admire a lot.
That's awesome. I always think of like that melty, goopy clock when I think of it, Salvador Dali. And then with Andy Warhol, I always think of the like Coke bottles that are like rainbow or like I don't know what that sounds like techno colors or something. I don't know what the name of the colors are, but yeah, very different styles.
Yeah.
But like you said, he's like a genius. It's so simple. And then he got famous from making something so simple. It's like, what?
Exactly.
Have you heard of that artist? I can't remember her name, but she's a famous one right now over in England that does the hidden, like mysterious art. She had the like little girl with the balloon. It's just like a spray painted in like hidden locations, or they like unveil things and then they put it through a shredder. And have you seen any of that stuff?
I think you're talking about
I'm blanking on her name. Somebody watching probably knows.
What's her name? Well, we don't know we don't know them, right? It's like a mysterious character, right?
Yeah, I think whatever name they've given.
But I think they refer to him as a boy, like as a person, as a guy. But I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I forget his name. I forget his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about. I have a conspiracy theory on that.
Is it the aliens?
No, it's the government. It's the government putting out things and just saying that is like, I don't want to get into that.
I know our viewers are gonna be like, man, this is going down a rabbit trail for sure.
No, I think it's the government just putting things that they really want to say, but they're saying like, oh, it's art. You know what I mean? Not that it's a bad thing. I'm not trying to say that it's a bad thing. It's just like a way. Think of yourself like if you were the government, you want to say something and you don't want to be involved in it, you would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. It very well could be.
All right, so there's that. And then I'm going to add the lightest layers on the hair. And I'm going to do that with this chrome yellow. And just because I added some orange here on the face, I'm going to add a little bit of orange on the hair as well. Just a touch. Just so it kind of matches. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I went with both colors at the same time. Except this time I'm going to use just a little bit of my orange. And that yellow is just going to add like lightest highlights.
It's really popping now. It's coming together. I can definitely see. That's fun with the orange and the yellow. So what is your favorite thing to paint? Do you like to paint animals the most, or do you like the mommy and me classes that you do, like kind of or more the abstract stuff? What do you like to paint the most?
I like if I just like have time and sit and like I paint whatever, like I paint abstract. Like that's like my passion. I like to paint abstract. The paint party style it's a business, it's a way to make money. But I do enjoy ever since we opened our studio back in 2016, I like that people find the art for the paint party designs, they find it relatable. Whereas my abstract, like people can't relate with it. You know what I mean? So as every artist, like you like it when people like your stuff. You know what I mean? So that's always a plus. But I like the abstract. I make it for me, because it's so relaxing and healing.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to just take that time and make something for yourself. I remember last fall things were so busy, and there were like new designs in some of the other memberships I'm part of coming out, and I just, even though no one else wanted to paint them, I wanted to paint them. So I just, painted them for fun on the side just because I could, and it was good for me.
Definitely. Okay. All right. I think that's good for that. And then lastly, for the hair, I'm going to have white, just white. And while that yellow is still wet, I want to do that because I want my yellow to blend with the white. Okay. And then this white is just really lightly because I don't want it to like be too white. I want it to blend with that the previous yellow that I just added.
So I know we were talking a little bit about different cultures earlier. I'm like, I love this Highland cow because it's like, I mean, I'm American, my family didn't immigrate here within my like last generation, but a few generations ago, my Scottish ancestors immigrated here. So we did one of those, is it 23andMe or, one of those blood tests to see like what your heritage is, and I'm almost 50% Scottish, so I'm like,
really?
this is my ancestral animal.
No way, that's awesome.
Yeah, for anyone watching, the Highland cow originated from Scotland, the Scottish Highlands.
You're 50% Scottish?
Yeah, I'm like 48% Scottish, and then next it was like Swedish. I thought for sure, because we have my like great grandma and her kids immigrated from France, and there's like all the documents to prove it and everything, and they could only speak French and all that, but they must have immigrated from somewhere else to France first, because I don't have a lick of French in my well, it didn't even really say, I mean, I think it said maybe like 6% European something, but it was all Scottish, Swedish, and Irish. I want to say something else, I can't remember, but I was just surprised at how much was Scottish, so I was like, okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I really like to do different art that embraces different cultures. Do you have anything that you found that has been helpful for you to embrace your culture in your community? Like, do you guys do any designs that are Spanish centered, or
No, actually, I haven't. The population here for Latinos, I find we don't attract a lot of them. So, like every other business, whatever the demand is, that's what we do. But we've done some Frida, Selena parties. Those kind of get, but they don't get too busy. We get some registers, but not a lot. But I think I should do something for, not necessarily for the Latino community, just, for everyone to learn about the Latino community.
Yes, yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. That's something
it's the opposite here. We've got because we have all the wineries, we have vineyards and apples and cherries, and so the more, it's like 80% Latinos here, and so when I do a party that's like a Selena party, people love it. They just
really?
Yeah, they love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I tried to do a Scottish or Irish thing for St. Patrick's Day. It was like a green truck with like a yellow background and like a 4-leaf clover. I had 10 people sign up. I'm like, that's what I get, I guess.
That's funny. Okay, so I think I'm pretty happy with the hair. What do you think?
I love it. Love it. He's looking shaggy for sure.
Yeah.
Very cute.
Okay, then we're gonna move on to, I'm gonna paint the eyes. And for the eyes, I'm gonna keep the eyes really abstract. I'm not gonna spend much time on that. One, because they're not that easy to like. If you need to spend a good amount of time on eyes that get really detailed, and two, because it's just a lot easier this way. So what I'm adding is some black with that brown, but I'm gonna leave a little bit of white around so I don't lose the shape.
Yeah, cow eyes are kind of different, aren't they?
Yeah. Just like that. And then with the smaller brush, I'm gonna go with the yellow and a little bit of the raw sienna, the brown, just to kind of give it like an eyeliner. And then just keeping it real abstract, I'm gonna dip it into my white. Put a little white.
Do you find that white is like the main color you go through the most at your parties?
What do you mean?
Like, do you feel like people run out of white easily? It's like one of the main paints that you have to have like extra of sometimes.
Definitely. It runs out very often.
It's
I think yeah, but I think I added too much of the white. Let me just tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, it looks great.
And then real quickly, we're gonna move on to the mouth. And for my mouth, I'm gonna use the same darker shade of brown for the nostrils, which are gonna be right here. Wait, no, they're right here. 1 second. That's my highlight.
So anyone watching who hasn't painted before, I love what Julian's doing right now. He's using a baby wipe to wipe away a mistake, and that happens to all of us sometimes.
Yeah.
Happens to everybody that's ever painted, and I love using a baby wipe and having it on hand for that sort of thing. It's like a magic eraser.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. I call it the magic eraser and I have him handy because like you said, it happens all the time. And then so those are the nostrils, and then I'm just gonna make a light separation between the two lips, the top lip and the bottom lip. I don't want it too accentuated, too thick. I want it just a thin line. Just like that.
Oh my gosh, it's looking so cute. I can't wait to see the flowers with it too.
Yes. I'm gonna hurry.
Take your time, it's all right. You're doing great. So do you have any special tips when painting eyes when you're doing animals? I know that's one of the hardest things that people struggle with.
The eyes, basically what I do is I just blow up because they're all different. Cats, dogs, they're all really different. So I just literally blow up because I have people pull out their phones and I blow up the picture and just take it, like literally take color and shade by shade. And then when it comes to the eyes, I like to keep it as abstract as possible because if you try to do it real exact and real circular and all that, it just turns out too cartoonish. So I just kind of like do my strokes real abstractly. Of course, I want to, keep a little bit of the definition legit, but for the most part, just do it as abstract as possible. Because also there's this thing I learned that the human eye, it registers things a lot better when they're abstract like that. If things are like too cartoon like, it just the eye can tell right away that it's not realistic looking, right? Because the eye likes to piece things together, according to this thing I watched. It was some person who was painting. What is that? What is that technique they call when it's like super hyper realistic, like hyper realism? And so basically, just kind of like keep it as abstract as possible. Because if you get real close, then you don't really then you can tell that it's abstract. But if you get far away, the eye just registers it a lot better. So I kind of just put that into practice. Okay, and then for the horns and for the mouth, I'm gonna use the same shade, just so I don't have too many colors going on. And I'm gonna go back to that burnt umber, which was the darker brown, not the chocolate brown, but the darker brown. And then when you mix this guy with a little bit of white, you get like this pale, like kind of tan color, which is what I'm gonna use for the horn first. I'm gonna go with this one. What about you? What do you do for your eyes?
Kind of like what you said. It's good to take a step back so you can look at it, because when you're really close, it feels like kind of crazy and out of proportion. I just did a horse portrait. I'm not allowed to share it yet because it's a present for somebody. But when you're in the zone of painting the eye, it feels like, am I doing this right? I don't know, it's not looking right. But then you step back, it's like, oh, okay. And like you said, just going with each color of each layer. You have your iris, the colored part of the eye, and doing that, and then the pupil. And then usually, because I'm working with black already, with the pupil, I'll go ahead and outline the eye a bit. And then I'll go in, if the highlight isn't already drawn in, I'll go ahead and add it, and then add my little fur accents around it to kind of soften the black, like you said, so it's not too cartoony.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess there's a couple of different ways to do it.
Yeah. What do you use to trace your pets?
I at first was using an app called Block Posters before I could afford a projector, and so now I use a mini projector that's recommended by one of the other paint party memberships, and that has helped save a lot of time. And but before I was using Block Posters and graphite paper and trying to get the size right and the lines correct, and it was kind of overwhelming. And then I would always have people asking me how I did that, and so then I would try to explain that it's really something you got to kind of show how to do. And so if anyone is learning about paint your pet parties and trying to figure out how to do them, I do recommend using a projector. I don't know, Julian, do you use a projector too?
Yeah, in my membership, when they ask me like how to do it, I just say, if you don't have a projector, you don't want to do a paint your pet, because it's just not, you need a projector. It's the easiest way. If you don't have a projector, then you're gonna end up resenting your party, because you're gonna realize that it's a lot of work for the money you're getting. You know what I mean? So you're gonna end up like mad with your students subconsciously, not necessarily like on purpose, but it's one of those things that your life will be a lot easier if you have to use a projector. But yeah.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for other parties for me too. Like last year, I was teaching these gnomes, and I seriously taught like 10 gnome parties. I think I could paint that gnome in my sleep, but you know, it was easy to draw out, but it was tedious with the graphite paper and because I was drawing out so many per party, like 30 canvases per party, you know, making sure you have the design printed and then on the graphite paper. One thing I have to say that I kind of like better with the graphite paper though is that it doesn't smear the way that a pencil does. Do you have a trick for that?
For the pencil?
Yeah, did yours smear too?
Yeah, and I kind of just go with it. I tell my students that it's part of it. It's just it gives some more character. That's all I can say. But yeah, it always smears, and you have to be real careful. This is actually a good tip. What Greg does, because Greg is really creative when it comes to uh, solving issues. What he does is he sprays it with hairspray. So just go to the dollar store
Oh.
and buy that cheap hairspray. Especially if you're like, we don't worry about it too much anymore, if because most of our parties are here at the studio. But if we have to travel with the already sketched canvases, like moving them from place to place, then that smearing does happen. You're writing it down.
I did. I turned. I was like, oh man, I'm taking that tip right
That
now.
smearing, yeah, it
I'm
does
gonna
happen.
run me to the dollar store.
It has to be, it could be just one of those cheap ones, and they're $1 or whatever, and they really, really help because it seals that pencil lead so that it doesn't smear around.
That is so smart. I didn't think about that because, like, when you work with pastels, when I was in high school, my art teacher had us use the aerosol hairspray to seal our pastel paper. It didn't do an amazing job, but if you were just doing pencil, I think that would be great.
Pencil it does work. Yeah.
His horns look amazing. Is it a boy or a girl?
I think it's a boy.
Okay.
Yeah. Or it's what do they call those kids nowadays?
A trans.
Not trans, but when they don't identify as anything.
Oh.
Whatever that is.
I don't know. I do love those colors, though. You know, those the muted tones are popular, and it took me a while to get on board with them because I really like painting with bright colors, but I do like how this is looking.
Yeah. Thank you. I was just like you too, like because I do my kids' designs, for the membership, and for kids' designs, you kind of have to be bold and bright. So I'm used to just doing those. Mm-hmm. But as soon as these colors came in trend, I was like, that is sexy. I want to learn to use those, and I forced myself to use these because it's like I automatically just grab like the bright orange and the yellows. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But then I go back to like, no, I have to like teach myself.
Yeah, and people are liking the muted tones, so it's good. Even the kids sometimes. So
I haven't tried. I only did one for the kids. It's a unicorn. It's a unicorn with sunflowers, and it turned out really cute. But that's the only one I've done that's muted colors.
I love the idea of doing a mommy and me class. I haven't done one of those before. Are they super popular where you're at?
Yeah, they are. I think they're popular anywhere. That's one of the reasons why we started our membership, because we were like, first we were traveling to a bunch of places because anywhere you go, they become super popular. So we were traveling to, before freaking COVID hit, we were going to the Hobby Lobbies because Hobby Lobbies have a classroom in the back.
Uh-huh.
And they let you teach for free, or they used to at least. And all you have to do is you have to buy the materials there. And so Greg and I would go. That's what Greg and I did full time. We were full-time paint party instructors. And now he does home remodeling, just because it's not as busy anymore. But we were going to Michigan because the Michigan border is just right here. And we were going to Michigan. Michigan people love to paint and party. And we were going to like 5 different locations all throughout central Michigan. and we were doing paint parties like mommy and me's. And but then we realized, like I can't do paint parties all over the place. So we're like, why don't we let other instructors use our designs so they can teach our mommy and me's, and that's how the membership came about. But
That's
yeah, I
awesome.
really recommend you try it because they are. You know what I realized that why they're so popular? Because people are used to the sip and paint. That's not new. You've heard it there. It's been around for decades, and so has the mommy and me, but not as much. And for example, like the big company ones, they call it cookies and canvas.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, but the reason I think the mommy and me is popular is because it's a totally different market. And what I mean by that is it's the moms, the women who don't necessarily identify as drinkers or partiers or anything like that, but they're still crafty, and it's a good excuse for them to come out because one, they're exercising what they love, and two, it's a great bonding time for the children. So I think that's why it's a very popular class.
That's awesome. I want to offer that, but we have so many like wineries, and I do teach at one restaurant, um, but they still, serve wine, and so they like to um, have discounts on the days I teach there, and so it just feels like I don't have a kid-friendly space yet. But one day,
Yeah, you should try like a pizzeria or something.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's so cute.
my mouth is a little crooked, and I just saw that. But we're
I
gonna go
I
with it.
thought that was on purpose. I thought it was giving it character.
I think we're just gonna go with it.
Yeah. I was gonna say when you were talking about Hobby Lobby, I did that for a little bit too, but I started with painting rocks. I don't know if you've heard of the kindness rock movement.
No,
Um,
what is that?
so people will paint rocks and then
Oh, painting rocks. Yeah.
yeah, and then they hide them, and then kids or whoever finds them, and then you post it on the Facebook page, and then you can rehide them or keep them,
Yeah, I
and
did hear
so
that.
yeah, so I was doing that for a bit, and I was trying that at Hobby Lobby, but that was way before I knew anything about marketing or advertising. So they had a billboard, at the entrance, and that was it. And otherwise, no one knew about the class. So I kept going and thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna have so many people excited about this, and like nobody would show up. So it was, yeah. So that was a hard lesson. That was when I was very first starting out.
How long have you been doing paint parties?
Since 2019, it hasn't been very long. I bought Heidi Easley's um, ebook,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't join her membership until like last year. It's been about a year that I've been in her membership now, but yeah, I
How do you like it?
yeah, I love it. I've always been an artist and always really um, loved painting in general, and I was already doing like commission work and putting stuff in galleries and that sort of thing, but had never really had that experience. And then I did a little party with my family and then with my church, and it's just boomed ever since. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, I love all the marketing tips she gives
Yes.
because I love marketing. Just it's like almost like almost the only reason I do a business is because I love marketing. And but I never took any classes. Like she obviously has. She's got so much knowledge when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, I've just experimented with Canva because of that membership. I didn't know anything about Canva before, but yeah, like you said, it's a lot of fun to kind of design that stuff now. I
Yeah.
kind of didn't like it at first, but okay, so I'm seeing you dabbled a little bit in the center to lighten it up a
Yeah.
bit, and now you're filling in the petals.
I had first that darker outline just to kind of like make like the outer ring of the flower, and then I added some of the brown, the burnt sienna, and then over that I added a little bit of this yellow ochre, which is the same that I'm using for the petals. And now I'm just starting to find out that my petals are kind of over or blending with the background. So I'm gonna need to do something to make them pop a little bit more. Oh wait, shoot. I need to do the scarf first so I can overlap the flower on the scarf. So let me take that back. So my scarf, I'm really excited about this scarf color. I can't wait for you to see it. Look at this green, talking about muted shades, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
yeah.
this one, I made it myself too. It's I call it. Greg gave it a name. I forget what he called it, but it's basically like a minty green, but muted, not like a bright. Like you when you hear mint green, it's kind of brighter. And
Uh-huh.
this one is a little more muted. It's kind of like olive.
Uh-huh. It kind of reminds me of matcha tea a little bit.
Of who?
Have you ever had I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's either matcha or
Oh,
matcha.
matcha tea. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a great name. I'm gonna call it matcha green.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Greg and I love matcha. We love matcha a lot.
I
I
like
uh,
it too.
I just can't drink it that much because of the caffeine. It hurts my stomach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is really it's a bummer because I'd rather drink that than coffee.
Yeah.
But it really, as soon as I take a sip, it just hurts my stomach because the caffeine is really strong on it. But yeah, I love how it just lines you up. It gives you like a nice energy boost.
Yeah, and it's like kind of earthy tasting. Yeah, we bought some to put in like smoothies and stuff, and yeah, it's been good. That does look really nice.
Okay. I like to set it on the edge of the easel when I'm painting the bottom part, so I can reach all the way down.
His little scarf is making me excited for colder weather. I'm in my garage, and for those of you who have never like seen me live or whatnot before, it's not insulated. Like the roof, I've got like a thin insulation, but the walls aren't insulated, and it's usually in the hundreds. Let me see right now. It's not too bad today. It's only 93 right now, but
What state are you in?
we're in Washington on the eastern side, where it's in they call it the rain shadow. So like Seattle gets all the rain, and then there's the mountains, and we get like a little tidbits of the rain that they get. But most of the rain kind of stays on that side of the mountains. So we're technically in a desert, pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Tumbleweeds are everywhere.
Really?
Yep.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, in the springtime they'll clog up um, the river. We're by the Columbia River, and they'll clog up some of the harbors and stuff because they're just crazy, blowing everywhere. But the nice thing is we're only like 4 hours from Seattle, and 4 hours from Portland, and like 2.5, 3 hours from Seattle. So if we want to go to like a big city for a weekend, it's not too bad to get there.
That's cool. Okay, so then while I allow the scarf to dry, I'm gonna work on this sunflower again. So for that, I have my yellow ochre over here.
So Greg is your partner, right?
Yeah.
Does he paint too?
Yeah, he started painting when we met.
Oh, so he's learning right along with you?
Yeah. We met in 2013. So it's been a few years now. So he's pretty good at it now.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he didn't paint when we first met. He got into it because I paint all the time. I paint every day unless I have to like. Now that we have here the studio, sometimes I have to be on the computer almost all day. That my energy, just gets drained. But if it wasn't for that, I would paint every day. I paint every day. Because we were just on that mini vacation, I finished like 6 different paintings in 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just because that's all I was doing. I was just painting. There was no Netflix or you know what I mean. We were out in nature.
That's
I
a
got
good
so much
plus.
fun. Yeah.
One day I did 4 paintings in one day. That was a lot. You feel tired when you do that many in one day?
Yeah, definitely. Especially my back.
Yeah. But I don't know why. For some reason, for me, the more tired I am, the more creative I get.
Yeah, like you can't stop, right?
Yeah.
You can't stop. Okay, so there's the first layer on the sunflower, and then I'm gonna go and use more of this. I'm gonna mix a little bit of yellow with white. So this deep yellow, sorry, with a little bit of white, just so I can do a lighter yellow shade, so I can make those flowers pop.
Be a nice little highlight on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that does it. What do you think?
Oh yeah, that's rocking it right there. That was a great idea to do kind of that darker yellow underneath and then the light on top.
Yeah, I think so too. Now I'm just going back onto this other sunflower. Now that the green scarf is a little bit dry, then I can overlap this yellow a little now. And I just add a little bit of that lighter yellow on the center too.
He's so cute. So
And now,
sweater weather.
yeah, it's sweater weather. Now I'm just gonna add some final highlights, and I think that's the last step, you guys. So just straight up white, just white by itself. And then this is kind of like short, choppy strokes. I don't want to add too much paint. They call this dry brushing, basically, where you just kind of dab your brush on the paint, and then just kind of dab off some on the edge. That way you don't have a bunch of paint. And then they're kind of like just dashes. It's okay if they're not one solid stroke. They could be just some cute little dashes. And then on the hair, I don't want to do too much because I already did some of that earlier. But I do want to just bring in some little highlights here and there. Oh, you know what? I do want to bring some of the shagginess over the eye. Now that the eye is done, I'm gonna bring some of that hair across the eye like this.
I keep looking over this because my iPad's over here and I can see the little details a little bit better.
Just like
That's
that.
so cute.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a he.
Yeah. I guess you could put like a flower in his hair and make, or the hair and make him
Right here?
if you wanted like a girly look, but yeah, with the scarf he looks like a boy for sure, I think. He looks so awesome. You did an amazing job.
Thank you. I like it. Okay, I think that's it, you guys. I would put more, some white on the flowers, but I think I want to wait for the flowers to dry a little before I add the highlight. But I think other than that, it's pretty much done.
Yeah, I think so too. It's looking amazing. Well, thank you so much for hopping on and doing this for us. Hopefully we'll have a few more people that get to watch it a little bit later on my side, and whoever's watching on Julian's side, thank you so much. Julian, for my members, do you want to share your business name and how people could get a hold of you if they have any questions or if they're interested in your membership?
Yeah, so again, I'm Julian Alcantar, and I can be found anywhere on the social media platforms, like on Facebook. You can type in Paint Party Rockstar. And if you want to become a rock star and be a Paint Party Rockstar with us, you can join us there. So there's the page Paint Party Rockstar. There's also a free group that you can join by looking up, again, Paint Party Rockstar group. And it's totally free. You can come in, and I give out all kinds of freebies there. You can also, the website is gallery2910.org. That's the website for the studio here, which is where I upload everything. And but yeah, I'm also on TikTok and on Instagram. So go ahead and follow me wherever you want.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. I'm going to go ahead and hop off, and I hope you guys have a fabulous day.
Thank you for inviting me. It was awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It was nice talking to you too and getting to know you a little more personal.
Yes, I agree.
We'll keep in touch. Okay?